Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of this Tuts Plus screencast series on writing Node modules. So last time we made sure Node was installed properly and we used the Node REPL to write some JavaScript and see it evaluated in the terminal. What we're going to do today is look at how we can write files that contain JavaScript and have Node execute a file rather than having to write all our JavaScript in the REPL. So here I am in my terminal and I've just got a completely blank directory. If I do ls, there is absolutely nothing there. So let's create a new file. Let's just create test.js. What this will do is bring this up into my editor. I'm a Vim user myself. And in here we can type some code. For example, console.log hello world. Like that. Now if I come out of Vim, let me just clear that so it's at the top. We can now run Node, and instead of running Node without any arguments, which would put us into the REPL, we can pass in one argument, which is a file. If I now hit enter, you'll see hello world. So then Node read in test.js and executed the JavaScript we give it. Now this is the basis for building all the command line tools that you might use that use Node. For example, Grunt, if you happen to use Grunt or Yeoman or Bower, any of these tools, they're all written in JavaScript that are executed through Node. What they do, however, is provide their own commands for executing, so you don't have to type node bower.js, for example. You can just run Bower and it does it for you. Under the hood, they are simply executing JavaScript files through the Node environment. So it really is as simple as that. If we go back into the editor, we can do whatever we want in here. Say var x equals 2, then we can do console.log ++x. And if we run it again, you'll see this time we get 3. So this really is, you can run any JavaScript you want in a file and just pass it through to Node. Something a lot of people don't realize about Node is that there are lots of things it has available to us that we might not use in our day-to-day use of writing JavaScript on the client side. We all know that the landscape of browsers on the front end is a real nightmare. When a new JavaScript feature comes out, it can often be a long time before we can confidently use it, because that feature not only has to be available in the latest Chrome, Safari, Firefox, but also has to propagate through to the latest version of Internet Explorer, Opera, so on and so forth. So often we'll have a lot of new features, but we just won't be able to use them because you can't guarantee the cross-browser support you need. However, Node runs on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. What this means is that if a feature is available in Chrome, it's usually available in Node. And because all Node environments are the same, you can usually use a feature that you might not use in the browser in Node with confidence. Let me show you an example of this. Let's delete all this. So say we have a list of fruits. Like that. Now if I wanted to loop over this list, and maybe console.log each one, you might do it in the browser with a for var I equals 0, I is less than fruits.length, I++, and in here we would do console.log fruits I. If I run that, you see we get apple, pear, bananas. Now that would be the way you'd write it in the browser, but ECMAScript 5, which is in Chrome and consequently in Node, has a lot of new array methods along with other things for looping over arrays. We can do this much more simpler. We can say fruits.forEach. Now this takes a function which is passed in the item, and then we can just do console.log item. So if I get rid of the first loop and run that again, you see again we get apple, pear, bananas. What the forEach does is it invokes a function you pass in, passing in the current item in the array. This is a much easier way to loop over an array than having to do the for loop and create a counter variable I and increment it every time. We can just loop over it. We don't care about counter variables. We're just going to keep going until we get to the end of the array. Now, as we go through this course, we'll see a lot of methods like this that you may have simply ignored or not read about because you can't use them on the front end, but you can use them absolutely confidently in Node. So that's it for this lesson. Hopefully you can see the power of Node and how executing these files through Node is going to form the basis of much of what we do in the coming series. What we'll do next time is look more at npm, the package manager, which we haven't really looked into much so far other than to install it. We'll look at how we can use it to install other packages that people have published and list them as dependencies, so whenever anyone installs our module that we'll be building, they will automatically install all the dependencies that our module requires. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.